my mistress is pregnant, so I want to be with her. Let's separate? At my husband's words, I lost all expression. Facing me, my husband was kneeling. What is he doing? At an age when retirement is in sight, what is he thinking? I don't particularly mind the separation. Our son Cecil is already independent, and I have my job and savings, but I just can't let everything go as my husband wishes. It doesn't sit right with me. I have my pride too. The dignity of someone who has spent 30 years as a wife, maintaining the home. Husband, I'll show you my seriousness. My name is Carol Brown, 53 years old. I joined a mid-sized company right after graduating from university and am still working there. After marrying my husband Aaron and having our son Cecil, I took a few years of maternity leave, but aside from those years, I have been working continuously throughout my life. My husband is timid and not assertive, which is why he never advanced in his career. I, on the other hand, became a relied-upon department manager. However, there were those who envied my success. She's so bossy for a woman. She's been nesting in our company for so long. Her face is as big as a raccoon or a fox, really. I would hear such words during break times. I pretended not to hear them and just finished my coffee. It was shocking at first, but I've grown accustomed to it. I haven't done anything wrong, which is why my subordinates believe in me and follow my lead. Those who have time to gossip should spend more time working. It was then, as I finished my coffee. My wife is even bossy at home. My son is on her side, leaving me completely isolated. That's tough. Hearing a familiar voice, I looked towards the sound, beyond the wall, from the shadow of a potted plant. I saw it. Just among the group talking ill about me, there was my husband. Upon closer listening, it seemed like he was at the center of the gossip. I'm always compared to my wife, and it's really difficult. I wouldn't want to be compared to someone so thick-skinned either. Maybe I chose the wrong person to marry. I never knew she was like that. My husband sighed, eliciting sympathetic voices from the group. I was clutching my chest. It was impossible not to be disturbed. My husband was a timid man. He joined the company a year after me, and I was tasked with looking after him by our colleagues. We got to know each other as I taught him the job. He used to say he envied my capability at work. After we started dating, he smiled, saying he was proud to be with someone as competent as me. Now it seems it's different. He resented my success and spread bad words about me. I suppressed instead. I started observing my husband's behavior at work. He always maintained a non-confrontational attitude. But what about at home? Hey, Carol. I'm thirsty. All right. He wouldn't walk to the fridge himself. He'd ask me to bring him a beer. I don't recall him ever helping with household chores. At home, my husband was arrogant, unlike other husbands. Maybe my husband Aaron is more of a household hero than in other homes. Can you give me a shoulder massage? I'm really tired. Oh, sure. I'm tired too, and after all, My husband has been more enthusiastic about spreading rumors about me than his actual work. But he seems to get tired regardless. What about the snacks? Didn't you just ask for a shoulder massage? Do you want me to split myself in two? If you multiplied, it'd be too noisy. He frowned. He confused. I went to get the snacks. I wish he would get them himself, but he always orders me around. As I arranged the snacks on the table, he asked me to rub his shoulders again. I let out a big sigh. My husband is not on my side. I realize this more and more. Even when we go shopping on weekends, he gets lost in front of the produce section. He doesn't cook, but if he sees a sale sign, he stops. Which cabbage looks better? Well, the one in your right hand seems fresher to me. When I offer my opinion, he nods, saying, right, but rarely follows my advice. Let me check on my phone how to pick a fresh cabbage. I wondered what the point of my opinion was. My husband Aaron readily accepts information from his smartphone. He's always fiddling with it whenever he has free time. Asa, Hilda is really funny. Hilda as in the new employee? Yeah, I'm teaching her the job. She's really taken a liking to me. He says proudly. Indeed, Hilda often asks my husband for work advice. She's a new employee and not particularly skilled at her job. She has an air about her that reminds me of my husband when he was younger. So you've become a teacher at work too. Ugly and not as capable as you, but I've been at the company for a long time. I'm doing my best, and that's why Hilda relies on me. He says, his face turning red as if he's defending himself. I was at a loss for words. It seemed like my husband took my comment as an attack, though I had no intention of hurting him. Sorry, did I say something too harsh? Your words always have thorns. He said, perhaps emboldened by alcohol, becoming uncharacteristically talkative. Hilda is kind. She appreciates and encourages me more than anyone. Unlike you, you seem very fond of Hilda. I married the wrong person. My husband suddenly raised his voice. He said this in a voice loud enough to make the eardrums vibrate. I should have married Hilda. Then I wouldn't have to feel this miserable. Hilda is still young. My husband is already 55, nearing retirement age. Even if my husband were single, I don't think Hilda would consider him romantically. That's what I thought. But then, Aaron said, my mistress is pregnant, so I want to be with her. Let's separate. Hearing this, I was dumbfounded. My husband was kneeling in front of me. The combination of the word mistress and my timid husband seemed oddly mismatched. I was puzzled, but slowly the reality began to sink in. Who is the other person? It's Hilda. It just happened as we were talking. Hilda is pregnant? Yes. He nodded. I shook my head in disbelief. Please, I don't want Hilda to think I'm irresponsible. You've been quite irresponsible towards me, though. You're capable at work, and you can go to Cecil. But Hilda only has me. He pleaded. I pondered. I didn't really mind separating, but I didn't like the idea of everything going my husband's way. Due to his gossip, my reputation at work was not good. Aside from my direct subordinates, most people seemed to enjoy spreading rumors about me. And now, I would be labeled as a middle-aged woman whose husband was taken by a younger employee. This was unbearable. I had made up my mind. After a deep sigh, I said, "Okay then, goodbye." Great. I made sure to add a caveat. You'll probably be fired from the company. What he exclaimed in disbelief. Are you trying to scare me into not separating? It's not like that. I won't do anything. I swear, but it's just something I can see happening. That's a lie. You're just saying that because you don't want to separate. But it's too late. Marrying you was a mistake. I need a woman who can be gentle and supportive like Hilda. He groaned. After signing the prepared separation papers, he said, "Pack your things." Your mom. I should leave. From today, this house will be mine and Hilda's. There's no place for you here. I paid most of the mortgage, though, but it couldn't be helped. I packed my things and headed to the front door. There was no one to see me off. Alone! I was thrown out into the night. What should I do now? I decided to head to the park for now. Sitting on a swing, killing time. I called my son Cecil. Cecil was speechless for a while. Dad, what is he doing? Separating now after all this time? It's okay. We weren't that close as a couple anyway. Can you come pick me up? I've nowhere to stay. Got it. I'll be right there. The call ended momentarily. He true to his word, Cecil arrived quickly. He appeared from his black car, bearing a slight resemblance to my former husband, but their personalities were complete opposites. Cecil invited me into the passenger seat. Driving towards his house, Cecil remained grim-faced. Dad is really selfish. I'm disappointed that he's my father. Don't say that, I replied with a wry smile. And my fondness for my ex-husband had worn out. However, ours was a marriage that began with love. Acting on our younger days. I felt complicated about hearing him bad-mouthed. That's the next day when I went to work. My ex-husband wasn't there. Similarly, Hilda was nowhere to be found. As expected, I shrugged my shoulders. After finishing work, someone called out to me on my way home. It was my ex-husband. Carol, what did you do? I told you. I didn't do anything. I was exasperated. My ex-husband seemed convinced that I had schemed something. But that was a complete misunderstanding. Suddenly fired? That's ridiculous. I've dedicated myself to this company for so long. I've been working hard for this company, too. That's something every employee believes, not just something for my ex-husband to be proud of. It's not just me. Hilda got fired, too. My brother must have done it. Your brother? He looked surprised. They had met a few times before, but it seemed like my ex-husband hadn't realized anything. I crossed my arms and said, "My brother is the president of this company. The previous president was our father." What? He staggered. I silently watched his face. A shock and fear appeared in my ex-husband's eyes. "You are the president's family." "Yes, but I wanted to be just a normal housewife, so I kept it quiet. I didn't want to be fawned over just because I'm the president's family. I wanted to succeed on my own." Ironically, I ended up being both admired and the subject of gossip. My ex-husband, the source of that gossip, said with a trembling voice, "But you did make a career for yourself." "That's on my own strength. And if I had used my family's influence to advance, you could have too, couldn't you?" He seemed at a loss for words. My brother is a strict man and had evaluated my ex-husband, his brother-in-law, based on his actual abilities. He had even said, if he weren't my brother-in-law, I would have wanted to fire him for being so useless. And now that had become a reality. "I warned you. If we separated, you'd be fired." But still, my wife's brother is the president. "That's absurd." "Ex-wife," I corrected him and started walking away. My ex-husband persistently followed. "Can't you talk to your brother for us? Hilda and I are unemployed now, and if this continues—" "No way," I said without stopping. "I have an agreement not to interfere in the company's management. Please do something, though, or do you want to meet my brother and negotiate directly?" I can't do that." My timid ex-husband looked frightened and swam his gaze away, then left. A week has passed since then. For now, I'm staying at Cecil's house, but I plan to find an apartment and live on my own eventually. Okay, you can stay here. Mom, no, it wouldn't be fair to your wife. I shook my head. Cecil is married, and his wife had just given birth to a child. I couldn't overstay my welcome and be a burden. Just after leaving Cecil's house, my smartphone rang. It was my ex-husband. Again, I frowned in annoyance. It had been like this all morning. My ex-husband had been calling me non-stop with incredible persistence. The number of calls reached 39. Finally, worn out, I answered the phone. My ex-husband sounded almost hysterical, on the verge of tears. "Carol, please do something. I can't find a job. That's not my problem, is it?" "But it is. Your brother seems to have talked about Hilde and me to important people in other companies, and everywhere I go." I'm turned away. His voice trembled, his breathing was ragged. And said, "Well, that's unfortunate." I couldn't find any other words. If my brother is this upset, he must be really angry about what happened. Don't talk about it like it's someone else's problem. "Well," I said, confused and tilting my head. "We are strangers after all. We're not married anymore." But there was a sound of something crashing on the other end of the phone. Then my ex-husband let out a cry. It seemed like he stumbled and hit some furniture. A woman's screeching voice could be heard too. I guessed it was Hilda. Head from my ex-husband's account. Hilda seemed like a kind, devoted woman, but from what I heard of her voice, she came across as strong-willed, even short-tempered. She seemed frustrated and irritated by the situation not going her way. I could hear my ex-husband trying to soothe her. Hilda, it's okay. My wife will sort it out. Don't say things like that without asking me. I frowned involuntarily. How selfish can he be? He was envious of my competence and gossiped behind my back. Now in trouble he turns to me. I'm not your wife anymore, and I'm under no obligation to help you. Carol, please don't say that, okay? He used his cajoling voice. Victor, I used to be weak for this voice when I was in love with him, often forgiving his whims. But now things are different. I made it clear to him. You said that marrying me was a mistake, right? That is... He seemed at a loss for a reply. His stammering voice was overlaid with Hilda's shouting. Do something. I thought you were rich since you live in such a nice house. You were after my money? Of course. What else would there be? Hilda said sharply. After a while of arguing with Hilda, I heard a door close. It seemed Hilda had left the room. The Paddock's husband, now completely tearful, spoke on the phone. I was wrong. It wasn't a mistake to marry you. The mistake was leaving you. Oh, is that so? I replied, feeling relieved about the separation, and then hung up the call. My ex-husband continued to call me a lot at work, but I did not answer. Hilda left me. He said later, "It's in just a month. He looked like a completely different person, gaunt and disheveled. His clothes were dirty, and it seemed like he hadn't changed them for days. He might not have even bathed. So, I have to pay child support for the baby, even though I don't have a job. It's your child, so of course you should pay." I stood at Cecil's front door, arms crossed. This is my son's house, you know. After betraying us once, you have some nerve showing up here. I came to talk because he's my son. Talking to you is pointless. Well, to you it is pointless. No matter how feeble he appeared, his spiteful tone remained. Then my ex-husband called out over my shoulder to Cecil. Hey, Cecil, it's me, your dad. I have something to tell you. Then, I was shocked by his loud voice, which was causing a disturbance. Indeed, curious neighbors were peering out of their windows. Dad, cut it out. Sel came to the door. I tried to stop him, but he said no, his breathing heavy with anger. I have something to say to Dad, too. This is perfect. He then confronted his father. My oblivious ex-husband's face brightened. Cecil? What is it, Dad? Cecil stood protectively between me and my ex-husband. Cecil, you're about to have a little brother or sister. Cecil's reaction was natural. At a sibling the same age as his child was absurd. But my ex-husband, not realizing the oddity, blurted out, "But to ensure the baby is born safely, I need money. But I'm unemployed right now, see? Could you lend me some? I'll pay you back, of course." Don't joke with me. Setchel scolded his father. My ex-husband flinched and stepped back. Setchel continued sternly. Astinsapiggers, don't disappoint me any further. A brother or sister. I don't want them, and I won't acknowledge them. They're just the result of your affair. They have nothing to do with us. Don't say that. I know I was wrong, but the child isn't to blame, right? So please leave. I couldn't help but raise my voice. How much longer must we listen to his selfish demands? I couldn't let Cecil be burdened any further. You've no relation to us anymore. Carol, please go away. Aaron, I said in a businesslike tone. There couldn't be a clearer rejection. My ex-husband groaned, holding his head. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He kept visiting the house pathetically. Eventually, we consulted the police. The officers responded swiftly, and my ex-husband was finally recognized as a stalker. He was now forbidden from approaching his former family. This can't be true. I can't reach Hilda, and now what am I supposed to do? But with the source of the gossip gone, the whispers about me also started to fade. I resolved to become a person about whom nothing but respect could be spoken. By the way, Carol, one day, I was called into the president's office. Sitting in his chair, my brother spoke with a slightly troubled look. I don't have a son to take over the business. Exceptions. I was considering your husband as a potential successor, but with him, that's out of the question. And we're divorced now anyway. I shrugged. My brother leaned forward a bit, looking at me. What do you think? Carol, how about you take over after me? What? I was taken aback. Indeed, there was a significant age gap between my brother and me. I was in my 50s, while he was nearly 70. I made a promise not to interfere in company management. Yes, and you've kept that promise well up to now. I appreciate your integrity, and that's why I want you to be my successor. Brother, I asked for some time to think. He assured me he wouldn't force me into it. I left the president's office, still pondering. Meanwhile, I continued looking for an apartment. But eventually, I decided to continue living with my son and his family. My daughter-in-law offered. Carol, it's actually a big help having you at home. Really? I was surprised by her unexpected words. My daughter-in-law continued in a reassuring, gentle tone. I can't handle childcare and housework alone, and Carol, your help has been a lifesaver. Exactly. Cecil joined the conversation. I try to help when I'm home, but I'm no match for Mom, who's been doing housework for years. She knows exactly what to do for everything around the house. It's an open ear to seal. I was overwhelmed with joy. Living with my son and his wife was also a source of healing for me. It was slowly but surely easing the pain caused by my ex-husband. Are you both really okay with this? Of course. We're counting on you, Mom. Cecil and my daughter-in-law both showed welcoming smiles. I continued my job and shared household chores with my daughter-in-law. They never forgot to express their gratitude for even the little things. Oh, cutlets today. My favorite dish. Thanks for remembering, Mom. I learned cooking tips from Mom. Her time-saving techniques are impressive. Thank you so much. It's nothing really. I blushed slightly as we ate dinner. After dinner, it was time to play with my granddaughter. This time was my favorite. She looked like her father, which made me feel nostalgic. Picturing the unique scent of milk that babies have, I picked up my granddaughter. The grandchild laughed innocently, giggling joyfully. She laughs a lot. She reminds me of Cecil when he was little. Really? I smiled nostalgically, and my daughter-in-law laughed, saying, "That's surprising." Now incretin circle blushed. "Mom, please." "It's embarrassing." "It's fine." The family, after all, filled with contentment. I spoke about the warmth of family. Cecil and his wife looked at each other happily. My grandchild, perhaps sleepy, began to doze off. Wait, I am happy now. And there's one more thing. By the way, I have something I want to discuss with you both. What is it? Next year, I'll be taking over for my brother. My life ahead would be busier and more fulfilling. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end.